Yo, wagwan. Tis your boy, Jidon, Legendary. I have a guide video for you today here, my good peoples. Alright, and that is setting up lighting on both vanilla and modded Cyberpunk. I'm gonna be hopping on my Xbox, and we're gonna be here on PC. I'm gonna be showing you both ways, okay? With vanilla, that's a 3-lamp setup, and with modded, that is a multi-lamp setup. Well, I mean, I guess 3 is multi, but you know what I mean, more than 3. Look, I'm not the greatest guide maker of all time, but I will give you as many tips and tricks as I do for lighting vehicles and character, specifically character. With that being said, make sure you check out Instagram. That's where I post most of these photos. DeviantArt for the stuff that's a little too much for Instagram, but never too much. Don't go over there expecting madness. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I do all things photography, virtual, real life, and sometimes AI. With that being said, let's do this. Alrighty, let's start it off with vanilla / council. Okay, this is for all my people who don't really like mods, or you just don't have access to mods because you're on council. Alright, so it's kind of dark in here, as you can see. Setting up lighting for a pale character in a dark area can be a little tough sometimes. I'm gonna show you what your boy likes to do. Contrast is good for darkening the darks and enhancing the colors. Okay, so as you can see, without it, it's pretty gray back there. Volumetric fog is definitely going to be one of your worst enemies when you're non-modded. Okay, with contrast, it'll reduce that by quite a bit. As you can see, it's way less gray, much prettier looking. Okay, much prettier around here. Highlights, that'll also make certain colors dark, but what highlights does is it's really meant for like just reducing overabundance of light, kind of like the side pieces of light, as where exposure is like overall light. So you never want too much exposure, because as you can see with exposure in comparison to highlight, exposure just quite literally makes it darker or lighter. As you can see with highlight, it's a different type of dimming, and if we brighten it up, it only brightens specific things, as you can see, typically, as it says, highlights. Now if we touch exposure, as you can see, exposure just makes every dang thing bright. So you never want too much exposure or too little exposure, because as you can see, too much exposure made it super bright, too little makes it too dang dark. So I usually go about 10 to 20 depending on what I'm doing. If I'm modded, I'll build a light scene and we'll go all the way down. But this is about the vanilla, so we're not too worried about that. In the meantime, we don't need to touch those yet. We need to see how the light affects our character. So I'm using a pale character on purpose. It's OGV, as y'all know. Pale characters do not take light very well. I mean, it's kind of like real life. If you put somebody who's real pale in a very white room, they gonna look crazy. Just like if you put somebody who's dark in a dark room, you ain't gonna see them too well. You feel what I'm saying? That's just, I mean, that's straight truth right there. So for the first light is always the overall light. This is the light that I use just to put it on the character and ensure that the scene looks the way I need it to look. So right now we have too little light, so we want to move it just a bit closer. Right there is perfect. You can up the brightness if you want to, if it's absolutely necessary, but like I said, for a pale character, you don't really want to touch that yet. You want to see what works. Now, as we look around, I mean, it's pretty clean. We don't really have to move the light too much. This right here is actually pretty dang good, right? But let's say you need more. Let's say it's morning and your character's at a beach or something and the sun is behind them. This is where the other lights will come into play. This is where I would take a second light. A second light would be off to the side of the character, okay? Because you only get 3 lights total, so you want to make sure you're using them properly. These I would usually have off to the side of the character. This gives the character extra shading on the side of them that normally wouldn't catch much light. As you can see, we throw it back there. Man, hold up. So you're just gonna watch this much of the video, and you're not even gonna subscribe? Nah, don't wave to them. They ain't even hit the subscribe button. Come on now, hit that subscribe button. Throw it back there a bit. Boom. Now her cheek, look, the cheek on the side of her face, the side of her arm, it looks all nice and shiny. It's well highlighted. And for the third light, it would be pretty much the same thing, but slightly behind the character. This would ensure, like I said, if the sunlight is behind the character, you want to ensure that it looks like there is indeed sunlight behind the character. Now, with the vanilla stuff, you really don't have to worry about that too much. It tends to look like that regardless. But sometimes, for just in case, for enhancement, whatever it may be, it's always nice to do it. So you want to back that joint way up. Probably like right up until it's noticeable that it's on her face. But not like, see how we got it now? The side of her face is a little too lit up. So I'm going to say right about there is good. And boom. You have much better highlights. I almost took a picture on accident. And now she stands out quite nicely. As you can see, I mean, like I said, this is indeed counsel, because I would never have my character wearing stuff like this normally. As you saw in the intro, she had her LA hat on and crap. But as you can see, we are also in ray tracing though. We're on Xbox One with Xbox X, on ray tracing. So as you can see, he's quite well highlighted, even down to the legs. You feel what I'm saying? So, boom. I mean, it is quite literally that simple. Now that's the darkness, right? That's how it looks in the dark. Now it comes a new issue, doing the same thing with the pale character in the light. Like I said, I'm not going to do a dark character because dark characters are extremely easy to do lighting for. They absorb light extremely well. I mean, it's like real life. You put somebody in who's pale too long in the sun and things ain't going to go too well. You put somebody who's dark in the sun for a long time, they might get a little dehydrated, but for the most part, they'll be fine. You feel what I'm saying? So, boom. As you can see, it's stupidly clean. She's well highlighted. Each side of her face glows nicely. And then the front of her face, without it being overboard or blown out like crazy. So let's go into the light. Now it comes down to a pale character in sunlight with no mods, okay? So, the lighting system in this game has a bit of an issue. And by lighting system, I mean within photo mode. Actual lighting in the game is pretty much just fine. We go ahead and scroll this way the fuck back and bring some dang sunlight in here. When you have a lot of sunlight in the game, it becomes quite a bit harder to work with more pale characters. Sunlight doesn't pick up too well. So for me personally, what I typically like to do when I want my character to be in the sunlight, if I'm making them face the sunlight, the one thing I will never do, I forgot you got to do stuff like this the vanilla way. The one thing I never do is, if I'm going to make them face directly toward the sun, they don't need no lamps in front of them. Lamps need to be at the side or behind. As you can see, it's pretty dang bright, and we ain't even really make it that dang sunny out here. It's just bright, just because. So this is where your contrast is going to come back into play. I personally prefer to set it at 10 to 20. If I'm doing vehicles, I will usually do 10. Because the vehicle's wheels can get too dark and it doesn't look good, doesn't look realistic. 20 for characters because it makes everything nice and dark, darkens her hair as you saw there. And for the most part, like I said, the most important part is reducing all that gray. But what I will typically do is I will reduce the highlights enough to where you can still see that it's nice, sunny, morning, whatever the fuck. But then we can add the lamps to ensure that we're focusing on the character. As you can see, it's still fairly bright out here, but it is twilight hour, so of course it's not like super bright, but it's bright enough that you can still see our character quite well. Then the lighting system, same old thing, but you have to make it way brighter. So as you can see, we got to practically put the thing on her dang face in order to see some type of difference, which actually we didn't put it on her face, we put it on her dang chest. So boom, now her face is lit up. That's the issue here on vanilla. With any form of light source, these lamps don't work nearly as well as they did before. So with that, I'm gonna get rid of all that blue, number one. I don't know why they made these lamps so blue. And you just basically want to max everything out. That's what I do, because that's about the best way you're gonna get these lamps to show up properly. So boom, with everything blasted, you can see that the lamp is operating a little bit. Not a lot, but enough. That's the one downside to vanilla, is the lamps are not strong. So when you're you have your character out in the sunlight like this, like I said, this is not an issue for dark characters. Dark characters, it works perfectly fine. the lighting we have it at would work perfectly for a dark character. But as you can see, she ain't quite a dark character, so boom. You can see it now, but it still don't look that great. So that's where the other lamps will come into play, as I said before, as highlights. Now for me, usually, because when I got my character in the sunlight, I want you to be able to see the sunlight because that's one of the most important parts. So I always keep my character facing away from the sunlight. Whether that be, it could be a darker character, it could be a lighter character. Honestly, to me, it doesn't matter. I always keep my characters facing away from the sunlight because I want you to be able to see that in the background. Ooh, I'm going backwards. Actually, hold on, let me disable this and bring it back so it won't be negative like that. There we go. So boom. Now we got it flipped. The downside though, as you probably, some of y'all can probably see, is with vanilla, the vanilla variant of the game. Oops. The light leaking happens a lot. So that is the unfortunate part, but as you can see, if you go to different angles, you can't see it as much. So at this angle, we probably go about here, and boom. I mean, you can already see how clean that's gonna be once the lights is set up. So let's go ahead, use one of those new little poses, you know what I'm saying? Get her in a little fancy pose, and then they got the new stuff where you can make your character look at the, not look at the camera, but look in any direction you might want them to. So boom, she out here with the little thug stance. Not so much the clothes, but you know, that's PC. Move that right about there. And like I said before, because the sunlight is behind her, your other lamp is going to be to highlight the back end of the character. Now boom, her front end looks great. You can see her face perfectly fine. We could probably reduce the light a little bit, not reduce it, but bring it down a little bit just to reduce the amount of light on her chin, but that's a lot harder to do here with this this lighting. All that stuff, you'll see that when we move over to PC, because it's way easier on PC, as where here on Xbox it's it ain't 100% an option. You can attempt to pull it off, but the light, you have to make it so dang bright for it to work on a pale character that it's not the easiest. So boom, now her backside is lit up a bit, and then the third lamp would go toward the either far front of her, depending on what you want, which you probably don't have to do because she has a lot of hair, so naturally you probably wouldn't even be able to see it all that well. But you can also use it for the bottom half of the character, because as you can see, the bottom half of her is not very lit up. But you do got to be careful though, because that arm being in the way, that could also cause some issues. Kind of doubt it, but for the most part it could. It's possible, but it's also fairly unlikely. Now, you don't have to make the inner angles this large if you don't want. That would make things easier to make it more precise if you need it to be. But in the instance of this being a light used for the bottom half, I mean, that right there is pretty dang clean. Now, in the case of good lighting for sunlight and a pale character, for what you can do on console, this is pretty dang nice. And of course, if you own like a photo editor or something, you can also do any extra editing you might want to do to the photo. Really depends on you. If you don't, because like Adobe and crap is expensive, then that's fine, because that right there is pretty dang clean. That's how I do things here on console. Now let me show you what it looks like if we go ahead and pull these back up, and why you absolutely want to be reducing highlights. I mean, you can already kind of see it. She's becoming pretty fucking ghostly. And boom, that's what the photo looks like normally if you don't add any form of highlighting. Now, in terms of effects, my favorite effect is always number 3. When you use number 3 and you give it the proper lighting control, this to me is absolutely the best. It looks way better on PC, but even here on console, it is the best looking filter for that old school 1950s look, if that's what you're trying to do, some type of pinup. But for the norm, I mean, that looks pretty dang good. Matter of fact, this is more than likely what we're going to use for the vanilla portion of the thumbnail. That's pretty dang clean. So with that being said, a quick rundown. Highlights are for reducing highlights. So it's not the main light, it's your shadows, it's certain little knick-knack lights. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you know if you understand what I'm saying, then you'll get it. It's not the overall light, it's some of the light. You know, that's the best way I could put it. It's not all of the light, it's some of the light. Exposure is all of the light. As you can see when we change it, matter of fact, perfect way to explain this is, Exposure is every dang thing. I mean, as it says, it's exposure. But as you can see, when we up the highlights, certain things don't change all that much. Like you can see the building back there, it gets a little darker, but not that much. In comparison to her, the background gets a little darker, but not that much. Now if we go ahead and put exposure down to 55, as you can see, it is quite a difference in darkness. Looks pretty clean, but it's way darker. Darker than you want it to be for a photo that's supposed to be within the twilight hour. You know, that's like 5 to 7 p.m. depending on the 5 to 8 p.m. depending on the season. It's summer, that's like 7, 8 p.m. It's winter, that's like 5 p.m. Twilight hour ain't that dark. But boom, you put 55 on the highlights and then you do 10 there. That gives you very clean distribution, you know what I'm saying? Versus if you do it the other way around. You do it the other way around, it's going to be way darker. Put that at 55, put this at 10. As you can see, quite a bit darker. You don't want it that dark, too dark. Especially if you're using a darker skin character, you're going to completely drown the character out. And same thing with a paler character, you don't want it too high because you're going to drown them out. Contrast, like I said, is for your shadows. As you can see, without contrast, our shadows are very gray and ugly. That is volumetric fog. Volumetric fog cannot be disabled on non-modded games. So boom, there you go. That is about as simple as I can keep it. So essentially, light number 1 is your main light. This is going to cover your entire character. Unless you don't want it to. Light number 2 is for highlight. This is usually wherever the sun is facing, you kind of want this one facing. And light number 3 is for the access parts. Like her legs had no light, so as you can see, they're fairly dark. We move the lamp back in, and it highlights her legs, makes her look much, what the f makes her look much cleaner, because you can see the entirety of the body. Okay, same thing with vehicles too. I don't know what the fuck just happened. I don't know what that was. But also at the same time, you can treat the third lamp the same as the second lamp. So even if we move the third lamp up to her face, as you can see, it also gives her a little bit of highlight on her face, which is also pretty clean. Now this is the downside of console, is you can only have 3 lamps. This is something you would do anyways on PC with the option of more lamps. Because you don't want to highlight the side of her face and not her legs too. But because that's all you can do, it may as well be. Now in this case, because her legs aren't really seen as much as her entire upper body, I would say highlight the side of the face. As you can see, her neck is now highlight. It has less shadow. The side of her face has more highlight. There's less shadow, and you can see her face a whole lot cleaner than you could before. In some case, you might even want to get a little closer to the character. As you can see, now the shadow is even less. She's really highlighted. You can see her greatly. It looks fantastic. You know what I'm saying? That's how your boy do things. With that being said, there's not a whole lot more I can explain over here on console because, well, all you get is 3 lamps. You can also mess around with the color balancing too if you want. I personally don't really use it that much, if at all, because it's not a whole lot necessary for me. But if you want, you can definitely make some crazy looking colors. With that being said, I mean, now we move on over to PC. That's about all I can show you here on console. They did also add some new poses, as I'm sure a lot of y'all probably know, so make sure you go ahead and check those out. Time of day can be changed and all that. You can even make the game move if you want as well. So there's also that too. Make some pretty cool looking backgrounds with it. I would try it out if I were you. With that being said, let's move on to PC. Alrighty, now we are here for the modded lights. I got her in a similar outfit so we can kind of see back and forth here. Okay, so with vanilla, I said you needed 1 main light, 1 sun highlight, and then 1 highlighter. So the sun highlight is any direction the sun is facing. That's where you want number 2 at. Number 1, that's your main light. And number 3, that is, let's say we're at an angle, right? Oop, I messed that up. Let's say we're at an angle, right? Let's say we're here. So 1 light would be behind the character, semi behind her, kind of like at the side of her. 1 light would be directly in front of her, and then the other light would be at the side, or as we did in the vanilla joint, we highlighted her legs. But since we're at about this close, that would be for her side. For modded lights, which most of you, if you are using mods, you should already know that Charlie lighting mod is the way. If you don't know, then now you know. Appearance mod menu is pretty dang important too, so make sure you have that. Of course, whatever else is required, Cyber Engine tweaks, of course, because it won't work without it. These are not heavy mods, mind you, so they're not going to really do too much to your game. Now, with vanilla, you want 3 lights. One main light, 1 sunlight, 1 highlight. That's all you can do. It's 3 lights total. With Charlie, you want 5. I personally prefer 5. You can do more than 5. You can do less than 5. It all depends. One thing I forgot to mention with the vanilla is you can also do single lamp setups if you want more of a natural look, if there's a lot of sunlight, or if you want more of a somber look if you got your character in the dark. But anyways, for Charlie, you want 2 main lights. Well, no, technically you want 1 main light. So boom, this is the overall lighting setup that I use. We have 3. Number 3 is my main light. As you can see, it's a spotlight. It's directional, it points in one direction, and this is the light that determines where most shadows are going to be at. For our sunlights, we have 2, and these are both entropy. These control the lighting in the area as well as the character's additional main lighting. These are also main lights, but kind of sunlights at the same time. And then our highlights are favelas. I have 2 of these. They are the same as entropy. They're area lights, but they're small. Okay, so let's go ahead and destroy these real quick. So if you didn't see the vanilla part, this is essentially what I did for the vanilla. So for vanilla lighting, like I said, you want 1 main light. Let's go ahead and make that white, and let's move it. I don't know how to move it on mouse and keyboard. Oh, there we go. We're gonna move it right in front of her. This is the main light. This is what you would want to do on vanilla. It works the same way because here with the vanilla light, you want a main light. As you can see, that's the light that highlights her overall. Then light number 2, as I said, that's going to be your sunlight. This is going to be in the direction of wherever the sun might be facing. You want to highlight those areas just a little bit more, like at the side of her where there's it's a lot of darkness on the side of her here. With this light, that's what this will be for. That's to highlight her side. Okay, as you can see, her side is now just a little bit more lit up, more lively now. Of course, you would want to control the lighting a bit because it is a little pale, but we're not too worried about that right now. I'm just kind of showing you how it's going to be the same with both vanilla and modded, right? So with the vanilla, it's the same thing. This light will go on her side here because as you can see, there's a lack of light on the side of her, a lot of shadow over there. You don't want all that shadow. So what you would do is the exact same thing. This is the extra highlight. This is for the parts of her you can't really see all that well. Kind of forgot how to go up and down with this. Been a hot minute. I'm not on controller right now. Matter of fact, let me just grab my controller. You know what I'm saying? And boom, like that. Now, as you can see, she's lit up on her side as well. Now she's nice and highlighted, or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean. I can't get the words out right now. And boom, you can see her quite well. So boom, that's how it works with vanilla. It works the same way with the non-vanilla lights. These are 3 specific lights in 3 specific areas that help boost her look. Because obviously like this, there's just a little too much shadow. Is it realistic? Well, yeah, if you're going for a non-professional look, then yes, this is fairly realistic. If you're facing the opposite direction of the sun, well, there's not going to be a whole lot of reflection if there's nothing in front of you to reflect. But considering we want a professional look, this is where you would use 5 lamps. Now, real quick, I forgot to say 1 lamp, and that 1 lamp is going to be entropy. This single lamp, if you want more of a natural look, is going to sit right in front of your character fairly close. You're going to make the lighting more natural to what's around that character. Okay, so for me, that's usually 255, 240, 220. As you can see, it gives her more of a golden hue. You're going to keep it somewhat low, right? And this light is solely for the purpose of keeping it looking natural. It decreased for some dang reason. Alright, That way, if you want more of a natural look to really look like they're fitting in the sunlight, but obviously you want to be able to see your character's face, as you can see, makes her nice and bright, but not so bright to the point where it looks like there is indeed something in front of her, giving her some form of highlight. As you can see, it's a much more natural look. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not looking for the natural look and you're looking for more of a professional look, then that is where, of course, the 5 lights set in. These 5 lights do the exact same thing the 3 lights do, but more, of course. It's more for leaning more on toward that quality. So same thing, if you want more of a natural lighting look, you're gonna go 255, 240, 220. Well, you could do more if you want. That's just what I like to do. Okay. Same thing though. On your first 3 lights, the main 3. These are going to be your main 3 lights. Now, obviously, it's way too dang bright for this pale character. That's where you go back over, like I said, to the lighting control. Bring them highlights way down. Here on PC, I like to do about 85, depending on how much the lights are actually affecting our character. In this instance, we're going to need a little bit more because for some reason, it really is. All right, so I'm going to say, I actually going to keep that at about 10. We're going to bring this back down to about 85. I kind of forgot the lights itself are quite bright. That's where you get to control the light intensity. Now, her being a pale character and all this sunlight, we don't want it to look that dang bright because it's a little absurd, right? So, boom. Now, light number 1 should always be on this side. Light number 2 can sometimes be on the same side, and light number 3 can sometimes be on the same side. The main lights that should never see each other are your 2 highlights. Highlight number 4, or whatever number you might be making. Highlight number 4 should always be on this side. Highlight number 5 should always be on this side. I kind of got it saved backwards, but you get the point. So, let's say we need to correct the lighting right now. As you can see, there's a lot of shadow here. We don't really want that. We got it at 164, so we put the rest of them at 164. And that gives us a fairly clean look, right? So, boom. There's no excess shadows where we don't want them, because remember, there's no light in front of her. All the light is behind her, in a technical sense. Then your highlights will come around, right? You see how if we move it out the way, she'll be too dang bright. But if we put it way back here, there'll be a bit of darkness around the sides of her. That's where you put this, right about there. Boom. It's not as close, but it highlights her arm, highlights the side of her face, the side of her body. And for this one, the exact same thing. So if we move it in, as you can see, it's quite a bit of darkness over there now. We move it back around, boom. As you can see, she's lit up again. And that, my good peoples, is how we do things here, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and up the size of the screen real quick and put this in ray tracing so you can really get a good look at it. Another thing I forgot to mention as we set this up, now that we're in a good old ray tracing in 2K, is volumetric fog. So back in the day, before I knew about Charlie Lighting Mod, I used to have a big issue, okay? That big issue, out of nowhere, mind you, was volumetric fog, okay? Volumetric fog, as I said in the vanilla portion of this episode, is going to be the great destroyer of your photos. Why? Because it just looks bad in most cases. So let me show you when you should and shouldn't use the good old volumetric fog as we set her up real quick. Alrighty, got her in a little saucy pose because this is going to be for the thumbnail. Now, let me show you the differences between volumetric fog and no volumetric fog, alright? Let's go ahead and turn off the depth of field real quick so we can really get a good see here. Okay, so boom. With no volumetric fog, this is what it looks like without volumetric fog. It is clean, the darks are darker, but we have a bit of lack of sun rays. Although the sun done disappeared on me, that's fine. Now when we turn it on, let me show you the difference. So boom, that's with it on, right? It looks great, it looks golden, it's beautiful, but here's the issue. Depending on where you go, it starts to show up real bad. Now, because we're out here out in the open, you can't see it that well, which is perfect. These are those perfect times to use it, because if you can't see it, then boom, that's exactly what you're looking for. Let's go ahead and bring our light rig back up. And now you can see it just a bit more. You see how gray everything looks, how flushed out she looks. There's a lot of light here being shined from our lamp. You can literally see a ray of light here. Oh, you guys can't see my dang mouse. Hold on. And you can see a ray of light here. Right? Doesn't look that great. Now, if we go ahead and turn off the fog, boom, it disappears. It's quite a huge difference. Downside is we do lose that golden sun ray. So if you're going to use volumetric fog, make sure you stay close to your character. If you stay close to your character, you won't see it nearly as much. Feel what I'm saying? Though, without it, it does still look quite clean. Let's go ahead and move these lights around. Show y'all once again what we do. So as you can see, she's flushed way the fuck out. Lighting through the dang roof. It's a pale character, so you gotta fix that. Depth of field, if you just care about that, though this wasn't really about depth of field, you know, I usually like to do about 30 for when I have a lot of scenery like we have here now, because it makes it look clean. Got it at the 20, we got it at 10, but 65 ain't high enough for a character of her skin tone, so I usually do about 85. You can still see the background real well, but then reduces the lights by quite a bit. So then we also want to reduce it on her as well. If you have to reduce your lighting, then don't be afraid to do so, because sometimes it's necessary, and a lot of times it will give you a far more natural look. So with this pose here, she kind of looking out to nowhere, which is fine. But in this instance, we're gonna have her looking at the camera because, oh goodness, instance of the thumbnail, I'm on the wrong joint. I'm like, why is she not looking? I'm on the wrong joint. My bad. Boom. Now she's looking at the camera. Alright, I'm gonna say at this angle will probably be about here for obvious reasons. Like I said, it's gonna be the thumbnail. Then this is where we move our lights around. There's a lot of shadow here. There's a lot of shadow underneath her chin. Okay, we don't really want that. There's the highlight on her back is improper. The shadow down at the legs too, here in the arm, on the face, we don't really want to see that. You know what I mean? You don't want that. So what I do is I typically just move the light around until I find out where it wants to go. 180, no good, because then the shadow gets even more dense. You kind of want to move it to wherever. This aligns with the vanilla as well. This is not just for Charlie. Of course, this is with vanilla as well, although I kind of already explained that, but just in case. Just in case, you know what I'm saying? So boom, 174 to 175, 176-ish area, perfect. Reduces any unwanted shadow, because remember, sunlight is in front of her. So with the camera lights, we want that to be perfection. So your two main lights, your area control lights, which is entropy, that's aerial lighting, and then spotlight, that's main light. You want these three to be pretty much right beside each other. Numbers on these three got to be dang near exactly the same. So as you can see, I'm at 1000 times 20, 1000 times 20, 1000 times 15. The spotlighting is a little more dense than the area lighting. And now for our highlighters, okay, highlighter for this side should be highlighting her front end. So that is any areas here, any areas here, any areas within the arm region and the thigh region. That will ensure that your sunlight looks the most natural. So I'm gonna say for this instance, about 70 should be good enough. And then for her backside, because we got a little too much on that side, that should be about 90. This right here, as you can see, it highlights her back without doing too much. Okay, bit of shine there, which obviously, you know, with the little booty shorts that they got in this game, it works perfectly. Shine, a bit of more shine on her back and a bit more shine on the side of her face to give her more of a natural look. Now she's still a little bright, so in that instance, we might want to reduce the lighting just a little bit more. Probably like 90 for that, and like 65 here. And boom, now she looks just a bit more natural. At that point, you snap your picture. For this, I'm gonna use the steam joint because I have not updated the afro. This is the vanilla afro, but depending on where you take the picture and how you take the picture, she started looking a little bald. So we're just gonna use the steam joint. But you know, I'm gonna do two actually. We're gonna use the steam joint and we're gonna use the in-game joint. And that, my good peoples, is how I set up. You see how you can see the shape of her head? That's a vanilla thing, unfortunately. I haven't updated that yet. Well, actually, the person that made the mod hasn't updated it yet, so. But it still looks absolutely fantastic, and that's the whole point. With that being said, my good peoples, that's about... I think that's the most I can teach you when it comes to lighting. I'm not sure what else I could possibly show you. I mean, it's simple. You need one main light, one sunlight, and one highlight if you're on vanilla. If you're on, if you're using mods, you need 3 main lights, 2 of them being aerial, 1 being spot, and 2 highlights. Those both being aerial as well. Matter of fact, like I said, your 3 main lights, you need 2 entropies. That's your area light that controls the lighting in the area and on the character. Okay, so you want 2 of those. Or more, depending on what you're trying to do. Spotlight, you can have multiple. I know there's some people who probably use like 10 lights. You can use 10 max. It really depends on what you're looking for. There's cases where I have used up to 10. And then Favalas as well. And the same thing applies, all this applies to nighttime too. So matter of fact, we go ahead and switch this over to nighttime. Same rules apply. Go ahead and make that super dark. Okay, and take the lighting on her. Because she is a pale character, we're going to bring that way down and we're going to get rid of volumetric fog. In terms of dark nights, I personally do not use volumetric fog. It makes crap look real gray, real nasty. Actually, matter of fact, let me go ahead and bring the lighting back up because it's nighttime now. When you're in the when your character's at night, you don't really need any of these 3. You don't need, just like on console, you don't really need these 2 that much. You can do contrast if you want, but you also don't need it that much. So for nighttime, I typically do about 10. Like I said earlier in the vanilla part, about 10 is good. In the case of nighttime, can do a multi-light setup, but as you can see, it's quite a bit you have to do. So for me personally, for nighttime photos, I absolutely love 1 single light. That's all you need for some nighttime photos. Go ahead, bring that lighting way down, about 60. Boom. You want to do it lower. Sometimes I do negative, and that is 220 on red. Sometimes lower. 240 on green. And boom, you get more of a blue hue. Shoot, you could bring it down even more if you want for an even more natural look. I mean, as you can see, and it's just straight clean. It's pretty dang clean there. Nice and close. I mean, she look fresh. So, loud. That being said, or actually, let me move it real quick because you see all that shadow on the arm. We don't really want that there. We don't really want that there. Move it for the front end of her. As you can see, boom, reduces all that unwanted shadow. And with that being said, my good peoples, I have no clue what else I could possibly tell you. There's background lighting. There's always background lighting. Just in that thing way the fuck back there. You can't really do this on Xbox. Or console, I mean, but you can do it here on a PC, so, you know, there's always background lighting, too. They're real super bright if you just want to, whatever you may be looking to do. Matter of fact, we could go ahead and put that way up over the island. Give it more of a natural look. Boom, you know. Depends on what you're looking for. Background lighting is something I can't really teach you, because background lighting is, well, background lighting. Wherever you may be, it's as simple as placing the lights where you need them. So let's say I want that light there, and I want to duplicate another one, put it on the other side. It's literally that simple. As you can see, there's not like a whole ton I can really teach you with that one. Fucking weather report. Not a whole lot I can teach you with that one. So with that being said, my good peoples, you know, do your thing. Hopefully this helped. If it did help, that's good. If it didn't help, I mean, shoot, I don't know how it didn't. We went full into detail. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do a guide on car photos. With that being said, hit that subscribe button. Instagram is where I post most of my photos, deviant for the stuff that's a little too much for Instagram, but never too much. Don't go over there expecting madness. With that being said, I'm out.